Hey guys and new viewers to this channel, if you haven't liked and commented or subscribed, first of all, I'd like to introduce you to my work, and you probably, if you're interested, would want to subscribe. So go ahead and hit that comment button if you want to comment, or if you want to subscribe, no matter what you want to do. So this video in particular is a little bit different. The first one, of course, is narrated by me, and I took it off, the usual internet, and thought you guys would enjoy. But the second one in particular is a story that's pretty interesting. It's actually a personal story that my friend dealt with, essentially. So if you guys like that, comment, subscribe, tell me what your thoughts are on that story in particular. It might be kind of interesting, and I promise you it's something very epic. So go ahead and check that out. Comment, like, and subscribe. And here we go. The Pizza Parlor Ghost. Tucked away in between a mini golf course and an old cemetery, there is an old parking lot in the back of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. This parking lot is very unremarkable. Kidzu climbs down the walls of the embankment above the lot and covers all the parking signs. Steep hills climb up in every direction into thick foliage. The best view from this lot is, of course, the mini golf course. As you wander the lot, you can see children cheering and swinging their clubs. But you will never know that this old place of pavement used to be a pizza parlor. It was the first pizza parlor in Gatlinburg. One night, the owners came into the pizza parlor and found that the restaurant was completely trashed. Food was scattered about the floor, chairs were overturned, furniture was thrown into corners. The owners called the police, and things seemed normal for a while. But the unknown vandals began to return on a regular basis. The staff would frequently come in to find the place completely trashed once again. Finally, the owners decided to put a camera in at night to catch the vandals in the act. The vandals were caught, but they weren't the vandals the owners expected. Video evidence showed objects moving on their own and things flying about the night. The owners tried to hide the video. They were afraid word of the haunting would destroy their business, so they destroyed the tape subsequently. Word of the haunting spread quickly despite the tape's absence. However, everyone knew about the pizza parlor ghosts. This actually only increased business. People came from all over to eat with the ghosts. Sadly, the pizza parlor was a popular place to eat, but the staff was less than happy to work there. Those that worked there said that this old pizza parlor was tormented by ghosts. Objects moved on their own, pizzas flew off the counter, chairs fell over, the light went on and off. Odd noises filled the dark in corners at night. No one wanted to work with the ghosts, so the staff fled and no one would replace them. The pizza parlor had to be shut down because no one would work there. When the parlor was sold, it was sold to a company that turned it into a parking lot. During construction, bones from the cemetery beside the pizza parlor were unearthed beneath the foundation of the old parlor. The skeletal remains of dozens of people were exhumed and buried elsewhere, but the problem still remained. The first settlers of the region didn't use proper gravestones. Sometimes the only thing that marked the graves were jars of stones. But it is possible and probable that bones still may remain beneath the parking lot and the adjacent mini golf course. Local legend says that if tourists park in this parking lot, their cars will have flat tires, dings, and engine problems. Tourists that play in the mini golf course can't make the last hole or do worse than they usually would. I know I've played mini golf at this course many times, and I will testify that I sucked every single time. Damn ghosts. When I was younger, I was in the hospital dealing with a very serious foot infection. Being a little kid at the time, I initially never would have conceived it was as bad as it really was. Even though I may have not seen it as a very significant moment in my life, it still troubled me now that I look back, and I'm thankful that I still live. My parents, of course, were significantly stressed, and it began to take a toll on them. I have been told that energy and auras of paranormal kind are usually strongest during negative situations and traumatic events. So I guess this is why it only occurred during this time, and by the time it ended, it never returned again. So when I was born, my parents already had bought a country farmhouse in the outskirts of town. It is a quaint little house and one of the go-to destinations when I hang out with my group of friends. When I was a younger child, I also had 3 other cats who lived in the house themselves. And the weird thing was, in terms of paranormal encounters, it was weird. The cats would look up the stairs as if they heard something and just keep staring. And when my mom was at her house, we would hear strange footsteps, even though my dad was not there. And I am an only child, so that rules out any possibility that anybody else would be there at the house at the time. But one of the more creepier moments in this story is that when my mom went home one day after dealing with me being in the hospital with that foot infection, she was doing her laundry as usual, but something wasn't right because at that moment she knew that something was with her. Something, of course, paranormal, and gave her a very unsettling feeling. And she swore that if she shouted out and asked who was there, someone or something would respond instantly. And of course, keep in mind that my father wasn't there at the time this all occurred. And in my room upstairs, toys would also start to turn on by themselves, and some others would move as well. Of course, somebody would have to physically push them or move them for that to occur, but nobody was there up in my room at the time. Other times, when my mom would be up in her room, she would notice that the upstairs was noticeably chillier than if she were downstairs, which was completely hot due to the heater, and this was during winter time as well. The windows were all shut closed, and it always felt like there was a certain draft of cold air blowing through when of course we knew that everything was closed. And at nights when my mom was sleeping, she always felt like there was a faint tap on her arm as if someone was constantly touching her. But perhaps the most chilling moment that happened during this period of time was when my dad was randomly snapping photos at his house. They must have been remodeling or something, or doing something to change the overall appearance of the house. My dad is noticeably always working on the house, so when my dad went to develop the photo afterward, he noticed something strangely peculiar, and there was a face in the window, almost to stare at him, disapproving of what he was doing. And at that point, it was definitely confirmed that we were seeing something that wasn't of the physical nature. And we later found out that the house was originally made to be a barn, but was later converted into a house. At the time, there was a couple that lived there, and they subsequently died in that home where they lived. And a little bit later, my family moved in. A couple years later, after all that happened, I was also sitting on my couch. My mom was talking to me, and there was a door to the left where I could see out the window. I can't remember what conversation we had at the time, but I was frozen in fear when I glanced at the left to my window of the door, And to my astonishment, I saw the glare of a man staring right at me, looking a bit confused, in tattered clothing, in what seemed to be plaid. My mom kept questioning what was wrong with me because I was petrified and couldn't speak at all. Eventually, I told her that I saw a man. But when my parents looked out the window, he was gone, and we never saw that man again. Thanks so much for reading. And also, to make a quick note, I don't have that photo anymore, unfortunately. Because maybe we were too freaked out, I don't know. But it would have been a great picture to see and to post online so people could see.